Well, we've been talking about a potential rejection off the 16-cent level, but bigger news than that for CRO facing a rejection is Bitcoin falling lower and Ethereum also falling lower. If you're wondering why did CRO have to reject there, well, it didn't have to. But certainly if Ethereum is rejecting well below its previous high, in fact, below the weekly candle closes that we saw back in 2021 at its highs at $4,600, well, then you're seeing a retracement for Ethereum, which is in turn causing a retracement for all the altcoins. And it's not just Ethereum falling today. Bitcoin also facing some resistance at this trend line ahead of September, where we're supposed to have the Fed cutting rates because of the jobs data that came out. But recently, we had some PPI data came in that was hotter than expected in a bad way. Inflation is not getting better like we had hoped it had at this stage in the game, which is now conflicting the Fed, causing fear in the markets. For CRO, you saw this rejection at this little stopping point that we've had drawn out. Just looking at historical moves, obviously August has been a little bit green, and then September has led into some kind of sell-off historically for CRO many times in the past. And here we are facing that again, but not just because CRO was destined to necessarily reject at this level with the time frame where we're at, with it being a level of resistance, but more so because Ethereum can't make a new high yet. And if you really want CRO to soar, you're going to need to see ETH. But what comes next for CRO? What's going on in this market right now? Well, let's talk a little bit about it with you guys, as we do see a news story coming out for Crypto.com partnering up with a quite popular crypto project, Vchain. Let's talk a little bit about that story and more in this video, guys, because let me be clear, I am bullish on crypto overall, but we do see a ton of volatility in this space that just continues to play out that way. And so instead of being stuck in the up-only mindset, note that, hey, you can be bullish on crypto and realize that there are opportunities to get in and get out of trading positions, or sure, remain patient for your holding portfolios. Welcome back to the Crypto Report, everybody. I'm Crypto Kip. Do me a favor, smash the like button if you like this type of content. Subscribe to the channel for more crypto content. And just feel comfort in the fact that it's not just CRO that's down today. There are a lot of coins that are down. Only one random coin I never even heard of is up. Most coins are down quite a bit today. And when it comes to CRO, it's not one of the biggest losers today. Actually, it's not even close to one of the biggest losers today. It's only down 5%, which is not nearly as bad as some of these other ones that we see down 10% or more even over the last 7 days. Now, we did just have a very good positive story for Crypto.com, and really probably more so for Vchain, because Crypto.com has such a strong brand name, and you see the president's crypto companies using Crypto.com as the custodian for not just their Bitcoin ETF, but eventually the blue chip ETF, which includes the CRO token, XRP, Solana, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, I believe. Those are all the 5 in the blue chip ETF getting launched by the president's media company. But you're also seeing, other people besides the president's media company using Crypto.com to custody crypto. The latest in the news today is Vchain Foundation selecting Crypto.com for secure institutional custody and liquidity. More and more people in the crypto industry are turning to Crypto.com, especially at the institutional level, to secure their crypto funds. It's very impressive for Crypto.com to be the one provider that it seems like everybody's turning to as of late, which leads me quite, keeps me bullish, should I say. There's so many bullish things for Crypto.com. We already know it's one of the largest exchanges in North America. We know it's getting utilized for custody, but now increasingly so. The only problem is September's coming up, and September's historically bearish. Now that we just had the news come out that PPI data is not looking so hot, August has flipped red as well, and we're going to September where there's uncertainty. Is the Fed still going to cut rates in September? Now, when you look at the odds of whether this is going to happen or not, the odds are actually still in a more favorable place than not for the September meeting. An 83% chance that we get a rate cut. Why does this bald guy on the internet, Crypto Kip, keep talking about rate cuts when we're just waiting for a CRO pump? Because historically speaking, you get a rate cut, you get a risk on asset rally. And cryptocurrency overall is certainly a risk-on asset class, Bitcoin even, and Ethereum, and then increasingly so as you go to lower cap altcoins like CRO. Those are very much risk-on assets. So what do we need? We need this Fed rate cut to play out, and the odds are that it's still going to play out. But we're seeing Ethereum reject. We're seeing CRO reject. Why? Just a little bit of uncertainty mixed with very historical previous all-time highs that Ethereum is contending with right now. What if I told you that there is a record amount of shorts right now betting that Ethereum is going to go down? Why would that be? Because a lot of people understand this, especially the smart money, that nothing just breaks right through to a new all-time high, lickety split immediately, right? And the proof in the pudding for that is if you've been peeking at what has happened in terms of liquidation events over the last little while, there's a lot of retail that I think has been getting greedy, unfortunately, and trying to just long in a price discovery mode for Bitcoin. We had almost $1 billion worth of longs liquidated on the 13th. And again, last night had another $418 million worth of longs liquidated. Now, the shorts are literally coming out in record numbers right now. If we do get a short squeeze for Ethereum, it could prove to be very good news for not just ETH, but altcoins overall and CRO. Something about this $4,000 price level for Ethereum is just beckoning me. I feel like we rejected off of it so many times over a long stretch of time, even back to the previous bull market. And for us to get a bullish retest to continue up through to new all-time highs for ETH, that would make sense to me. What does all this mean for CRO? Well, CRO obviously having some great news coming out relatively frequently, and recently this great now partnership announcement for the institutional custody for Vchain Foundation. You know, there is a lot of excitement I still have for this coin, but as Ethereum is kind of making me feel like maybe it wants to dip down to this red circle that I had told you guys over the last week or two that, hey, we could see this level get hit in September or before September. You kind of think, okay, well, if ETH's going to come down to that level, then maybe CRO can come back down. And that leads me just back to the place that makes the most sense, which is, you know, at worst case scenario, 10 cents. At best case scenario, in my mind, is somewhere around like the 12-cent level, kind of at the top of these wicks over here, somewhere around that 12-cent level. I would be very, very surprised if CRO fell below the 10-cent level in any meaningful way. If it did fall below the 10-cent level, I would imagine they would be wicks of sort. Now, if Bitcoin breaks below 100K and Ethereum breaks below $4,000, then we can start talking again about, you know, maybe an 8 or 7 cent CRO, which is something I really don't want to be thinking too much about because historically speaking, this is supposed to be the best moment in a bull market. We are getting very close to what I believe will be the end of this bull market at the end of 2025. Again, we could argue for super cycles because, you know, well, with Crypto.com, there's so many bullish things going on for Crypto.com. It's a blue chip ETF. It's custody for everybody, it seems. Sure. And Bitcoin's got a lot of bullish catalysts as well, where there's national strategic reserves happening for Bitcoin. And you've never had more volume in the ETFs than ever before in the history. And these ETFs have only been out for a very short period of time. There's all these bullish things. But if everybody out there is believing that no one's going to take profit, well, that's just not true. There will be people that after having Bitcoin gone from $15,000 to a 673% gain to where we're at $115,000 price, there's going to be profit taking along the way. I don't think the profit taking is going to be the point where we're going into a bear market early. I think that there's people, as we're approaching this key level, getting hesitant. People are trying to get some off the table, not trying to time the top, but really buy low and sell high. And arguably Bitcoin is a lot higher than it was at the bottom of the bear market. And so is Ethereum. As for CRO, you know, it's got a long way to go to get back to its previous highs, but that is not unique for CRO. A lot of these altcoins, guys, are waiting on the Ethereum all-time high breakout to get that rally to higher price levels. I think it's going to be very, very quick to see a CRO to 25 cents or higher after Ethereum breaks a new all-time high. And within a month or two of Ethereum breaking that new all-time high, which I still think it could and should do in this cycle in the remainder of this year, we would then likely see, you know, Crow coin not just reach 25 cents, but find its rally to $1 or maybe even higher in the months following Ethereum's breakout to a new all-time high. We're due for an altcoin season. That's something that I believe. In the meantime, as I'm watching this volatility, I'm taking advantage of the volatility, trading in these markets, taking advantage of, these massive moves that are happening. Like if Ethereum does choose to fall back down to the $4,000 price level, that is a trading opportunity. It could easily go, a 7% move. Maybe that's why these record Ethereum shorts are in right now. They're all thinking maybe the same thing. Are we going down to $4,000 Ethereum? I'm not a financial advisor, guys. I'm not telling you to short this thing or long it. I'm telling you that a lot of people are taking advantage of the volatility one way or another, looking for levels of support, looking for levels of resistance in this crypto space. And same is true for Crow and should be true for Crow coin holders. If you guys want to take advantage of the volatility, check out the sign-up bonuses in the link in the description down below. For the preferred platforms that we like here on this channel, Blowfin and BitTuneX. I like Blowfin the best personally, but let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below on CRO, on this news that we're looking at right now. Because September's coming up and, there's a song out there talking about, waking people up at the end of September. I don't want to quote the song. I don't want to get a copyright strike, but that might be what it comes down to. When September ends, that might be when we can finally get on to that bullish phase of this altcoin season, this move for Crow coin. But you got to keep an eye on the inflation data, because if tariffs keep getting worse and inflation gets worse, it might stop the Fed from doing what we all want the Fed to do, which is cut rates and pump risk on assets. Guys, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing here is financial advice. Do me a favor, though. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want more crypto update and news like this. That's all I got on this one. I'm Crypto Kip. I'll see you in the next one. 2 videos here if you want to check them out. Until next time, y'all. Peace.